Hello, I'm Alex Mustard, and I thought I'd spend a few minutes telling you a little bit about these brand new Retra Pro Flash guns that I've been sent to try out, to do a bit of field testing. These are still at pre-production prototype stage, but in terms of their physical construction and their specifications, they're now production ready, and the production run is well underway. So I thought it was a nice chance to share a little about this. I'm just recording this very quickly on an iPhone. I'm leaving for the Red Sea tomorrow. No chance to make a better quality video. So apologies if the sound isn't great. Apologies if the image quality isn't great. And I can see I'm already chopping the top of my head off in the video, but that's all right. There's not much up there to see. Okay, so a little about these flash guns, just to show you a little bit of the specifications. In terms of physical size and everything, very similar to the outgoing Retra Flash, but in details, very different everywhere. Most noticeable is the flash tube is now a circular flash tube, and it's actually a very interesting high specification circular flash tube. It is actually a complete ring, and it's manufactured in a very different way to other sort of horseshoe shaped flash guns. And one of the consequences of that is it allows it to have a very, very short flash discharge time, despite being very powerful. And that allows it to have some very interesting specifications, which we'll come on to in a little bit. But it particularly makes it very good for TTL, and also allows it to be used for high speed, flash sync, and other things that can be adjusted on it. So really interesting that. The back of the flash is a little bit less on here than the outgoing model, because the electronic flash sync socket has been taken away, and in recognition of the fact that most people now are using fiber optic sync, there's just a single fiber optic port on the back of the flash gun. And the mode button is a simple on. Battery test mode, when you turn the flash gun on, you'll see the color here, and the color of the lights is similar to the outgoing model. Gives you 4 variations, which are basically full, 3/4 power, half power, and then a quarter power, allowing you to know whether you need to change your batteries or not. Useful to have. Also in that mode, you've got a flash test mode, which allows you, I don't know if you see that flashing, you can probably see it flashing more easily on my face, which allows you to test that the flash is firing irrespective of this trigger. So if you are having triggering problems, you can press this button and know that the flash is firing, and probably your problems are to do with the fiber optic cables. And then you have a single on mode for normal shooting, with manual powers from 100% down to 50%, 25, 12, 6%, 3% and 1%. So you can turn it down a really long way. But you can turn it down more than that, and I'll come on to that in a minute, particularly as photographers who like open aperture shooting, that type of thing. The ability to shoot very low power is really interesting, and that's accessible through one of the user modes we'll come on to in a sec. There's also TTL mode. I don't know a great deal about that, but as far as I'm aware, this is the only circular flash tube model that allows really high performance TTL, so that's really interesting. And then on to the next 2 modes, which are U1 and U2. Now, these are user specified modes in terms of special things that this flash can do. And you might say, how do you set those modes? Well, that's why I've got my phone sitting here on the table, because what's exciting and new about these new Retra strobes is not just their fantastic quality of light and the focus on that they've carried over from the previous strobes and improved on, but is the fact that these strobes actually have uniquely a Bluetooth capability that allows you as a user to connect to them with your phone using this Retra app here. I'll just click on that and open it up. It's hard to do that. And then within the Retra app, we can go into the Retra Flash area, and then in here you've got user manuals for all the strobes. So as long as you remember to take your phone with you on a trip, you've got access to all the user manuals and everything. And the nice thing about being based in an app is that actually the manufacturer can update them if there are things, if there are problems come up, or bits of advice that they think, oh yes, I wish we put that in our instruction manual. They can be updated, and as the app updates, they update. But more interesting than that, you can actually connect your individual units to the flash and then learn all about them. So by going into one of the units here, this is number 9, which I think is this one. Each flash will have its own number. It actually tells me how many flashes I've ever taken with that strobe, which at the moment is 83. It won't stay like that for long when I get it to the Red Sea. It tells me the battery voltage level that's in the strobes. And obviously if that number drops, it makes you realize there might be something wrong with your batteries. And it tells you the firmware version. And the firmware updates allow Retra to fix bugs, for example, but also to update the specifications of the strobes. And that's where those user modes can become quite interesting, because not only can you set those individually, but if someone, say, comes up with an idea that they'd like the strobe to be able to do, and that's possible through the software inside the strobe, then you can write to Retra with that idea. If they think it's a good idea, they might put some time and effort into developing it, and then that could become available to the whole Retra shooting community. And I've already been feeding in several creative ideas I've got for photographic capabilities, making use of the specifications of these strobes. Another nice feature of the app is that it allows you to upgrade the firmware inside the flash gun to add new features to it. And this is super easy to do through Bluetooth. You connect the flash gun to the camera and then simply install latest update, and it installs, and you can see it copying across here, and it's all ready to go. But the ones that they plan to launch early on is under one of the user power modes. It's actually a TTL pre-flash setting mode you can have as a default. And the other one that's on these at the moment is a low power mode. So that basically drops all the power settings by 2 stops. And that allows me, say I want to shoot open aperture macro and I'm finding my flash gun is overwhelming the subject, I can actually then drop my flash gun down to even lower power settings, allowing me to still shoot open aperture macro without overwhelming the subject. So really interesting to have that capability. Also, I know a lot of compact users find that flash guns, when they're shooting very close to subjects, can overwhelm the camera because they can't shut the aperture down more than f8, for example. And again, this can be a really useful feature for dropping your power down. One of the other future things that's is coming with the flash gun when it comes out is one of these user modes. You can set it to be a high-speed flash sync mode. So as I'm sure everyone is aware, flash gun synchronization with SLR and mirrorless cameras is limited by the flash synchronization speed of the camera. However, most of those companies, Canon, Nikon, Olympus, if you buy one of their land flash guns, they allow you to do high-speed flash sync, so you can sync at a 500th of a second, a 1000th of a second. And the way they do that is actually by making a number of very short flashes through the exposure, so that as the shutters sweep up, you actually get strips of light lighting up, all almost instantaneous. You can't see those flashes with the naked eye, but they actually are happening, and that's how it does it. And what's exciting about these flash tubes and the circuitry in these is that's also possible with these flash guns. So really exciting to be able to use that. And actually Retra, because of the specifications of this quite unique circular flash tube, they're actually able to get more power out of their flash than normal flash guns can at those those very short flash duration times needed for this. And that enables this flash actually to be able to do that high speed sync and still give you a good amount of oomph. Because actually, if you've ever tried it with a land flash, you lose quite a lot of flash power when using high-speed sync. These very high numbers of thousandths of a second, 2000ths of a second. However, with this flash gun, there should be lots of power, which makes high-speed sync wide angle something that's really exciting. Anyone who's ever tried to shoot a sunball underwater, imagine being able to just turn your shutter speed up to a 1000th of a second and still be able to shoot your picture. So creatively, that's really, I think, going to be really exciting. Being able to shoot wide angle during the day, black backgrounds if you want it, both in wide angle and macro shooting, however bright the conditions are, as long as you've got the flash on the subject. So that's a really interesting feature. Just a few last things physically on the back of the camera. The battery compartment has been redesigned. It's got a double O-ring. It's much easier now to open and close with a double O-ring on there for those that worry about such things. I guess 2 O-rings has to be better than 1. I've never been that convinced by a double O-ring thing. And very nice control knobs that have got nice, very clear to click buttons. And what I like is the 2 different control knobs of different lengths. So when you, as an underwater photographer, and your flash gun is out and your strobe on, you reach out, you can tell straight away that the long one is your flash power one, and you know, right, I need to turn that up, I need to turn that down, and you can tell which knob you're holding on to. And they've got this nice engraved grip on them, which makes them easy to grip and to turn. And I think that's pretty much everything I want to cover in this quick preview. As I said, I've got to get these in a suitcase and off to the Red Sea, and I'm sure I'll be writing a detailed review when I'm back for the Red Sea.